It's Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this Do Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday was Wow Wednesday, and we started off with our girlfriend Vivian and her socially conscious segment, and we talked about those cucumbers. Yes, not only are they still on recall, but it has expanded. Cucumbers from Walmart, from Safeway Foods, from Kroger's. Yes, any cucumbers in the authentic Greek salads, any party-sized veggie trays, any deli sandwich, any salads containing cucumbers. It is all included now. And they have moved up to 26 cases of salmonella all over the United States. So you may have to put those cucumbers on pause for right now. But, it ain't forever. And don't do what Shantice does. Don't go get the chips, okay? Figure out something else. All right, because cucumbers are really, really healthy. So we're just going to put it on pause for a little bit, but we're coming back. We're coming back as soon as it is cleared up. Oh, those congestion prices have not gone anywhere. I don't know. Maybe they think they're doing us a favor, but it has been extended to June 9th. Yeah, June 9th. Until then, the federal judge will talk again as to what they're going to do. There's been some talk on both sides of the fence from everybody, and still the federal judge has put a pause on it. So you will still have to eat those congestion prices here in New York City below 60th Street if you're driving. Okay? All right. Well, greenery is what we will have. Not more money for the homeless, not more money for the veterans, not more money for the elderly. We're not helping them pay their rent. We're not helping people get food. We're investing $30 million into greenery. Yeah, they're going to put up all kinds of different vacant greenery spots for the city of New York. $30 million. Yeah, and the Do Time crew could think of 900 other things that they could do more productively than this greenery. Yes, there's so much more that we can use here. After school programs are still in the deficit. There are no community centers like there used to be, or there should be. And $30 million can go a long way to helping feeding people. Again, our elderly people are still not eating properly. They are not eligible for SNAP benefits. They are not eligible to get any assistance with their rent. And yet we've got money for vacant green spots. Yes, the vacant lots are being transformed into green spots so that the New Yorkers could have more greenery during the summertime and enjoy the summer. So there you have it. That's the way our mayor is going out, because he is not going to be voted back in come November. That ain't happening. No. Well, the TikTok challenge is at it again. And this time, it's Kool-Aid time. Yes. Remember that old commercial with Kool-Aid, the big Kool-Aid jug, and it would run and knock down the walls or the door or whatever? Well, our children have followed a TikTok challenge where they are running in groups and knocking down people's fences. Yeah, no, they can't find nothing better to do. Yeah, this is what's going on now. And they are going to eat some heavy prices. Well, penalties. And I'm sure their parents are going to be eating these penalties because they're a bunch of teenagers. Yeah, they are now going to have to pay anywhere between $100 and $8,000 to repair any fence that they have been found to have demolished, as well as some jail time. And if it is above $1,500 in damage, the jail time will also increase. So let's hope they find these people so they can stop this nonsense. Yeah, nonsense is what we're talking about. We asked, there we go. We talked yesterday about, what's the breakdown, and normally people always yell, oh, it's the family, it's the parents, and we can't blame the parents. We cannot necessarily blame the parents. In some cases where parents have been negligent, absolutely, but there are some hardworking parents out here who are working to ensure that their children have a good upbringing, a good home. They are investing in them. They are taking them to church, but for some reason, they still want to fall on that side of the fence. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I was talking to someone the other day, like I said yesterday, and they got into an argument, an outright argument about, who do you blame for a child who just, and not necessarily child as in little people, just talking about someone's offspring. They could be a teen, they could be a young adult, but these people who don't want to do anything, who consistently get in trouble, and years ago, you put them out and things like that. And I'm not saying that that's not the answer, to each his own. I ain't mad at you. If you are working hard and you have truly invested in your child and you're out there working hard, and in this particular case where if the child is found to have been negligent or guilty in demolishing someone's property, they have to pay. And are they going to put it on parents? I don't know. I just thank God that my kids are grown. And if they do anything, they are responsible for it, because this has got to be a difficult situation to be in when you are doing everything. Yes, there are parents who are doing everything, but their kids just don't want to do what they're supposed to do. So the question is, what do you do as a parent? So we got to talking about that yesterday. Listen, there's nothing worse than negligent parents. And that's the other thing we talked about yesterday. We talked about the fact that there were 10 inmates that escaped the New Orleans prison, and 8 of them have been caught, and 1 was found with the grandmama involved. Yes, while this inmate was out on the lam, grandma sent him money through some cell phone app. How he got the money, I don't know. But Shantice did come up with a possibility. Yeah, he is 42 years old. Grandma's 59. Yeah, you see what I'm talking about? Sometimes you cannot blame the parents, and sometimes you can. Sometimes you can blame the adults in the life. Because come on, you mean to tell me you done broke out of jail? Now you're not in jail for something that you didn't do. You broke out of jail, and I'm gonna help you stay out. So now grandma's sitting behind bars. No, thank you. That is not my way of life. So it's real. It's real, people. It's real. This is how it goes down out here in this world. And this is why we're on every day, just encouraging you to choose Jesus. because we need them. All right. Well, that's how we spend our Wow Wednesday. Today is Therapeutic Thursday, the day we talk about our health in whatever shape, form, and fashion. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, whatever way we can get this done, we will get it done. And sometimes we just laugh through the entire show. And laughter is the best medicine. Well, before we get this party started, let's go get that healthy breakfast. Let's go tell somebody that it's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
Your gut is French fries. The best food for your gut is oregano. The worst food for your cell is processed meat. The best food for your cell is soursop. The worst food for your immune system is sugar. The best food for your immune system is black seed oil. The worst food for your thyroid is soy. The best food for your thyroid is sea moss. The worst food for your stress is energy drinks. The best food for your stress is ashwagandha. The worst food for your skin is artificial sweeteners. The best food for your skin is chlorophyll. The worst food for your energy is white bread. The best food for your energy is moringa. Instead of doing something extremely expensive, I recommend a holistic approach with all natural ingredients. This is Wixen all-in-one formula. It has soursop, black seed oil, sea moss, ashwagandha, chlorophyll, moringa, oregano, and turmeric. And it has 92 out of the 102 minerals that our body needs. Most people don't realize that ashwagandha has 14,000 times more adaptogenic power than green tea. Moringa enhances relaxation 100 times more effectively than chamomile, and soursop supports mood 4 times better than dairy.
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, and it is Therapeutic Thursday. Yes, the day we talk about our health. Now that was some PSA. I got to find out what that was that the doctor was recommending we get. That sounds like something that I need. So I'm definitely going to jump on that one, and I'll let you know how it works. If you try it, let us know how it works, okay? All righty. Well, I got to say good morning to all of my viewers who have joined me this morning, but the only way I know that you're in the room is if you let me know you're in the room. So come on, say good morning, say hey, say what's up, Pastor Steph, and I will give you a hearty shout out. This morning, I'm saying good morning first to Miss Kelly. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We got to check in from our boy Terrence. Hey, Terrence, how are you? And we got a check in from our girl, Lady Tamika. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to chatting with you in a couple of minutes. And we definitely have to say good morning to the ladies that keep us smoking on, that's right, YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Let's say good morning to our girl, Anika. Hey, Anika. Thank you. And Shantice. Good morning, Shantice. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and helping us to hold it down. Look forward to talking to you this morning as well. Shantice, when you get a chance, put in the chat room for us, please, the name of that bottle that we were just told about in the PSA. All right, thanks. All right. Well, this morning we're talking about B12 deficiency and what we need to eat to get that boost. We got to make sure we get that energy and that B12 in us so that we can definitely get that perk in the morning. And if we're talking about fatigue and weakness, which is the silent energy drain, they're calling it, well, that's what we need to take care of. That's why we need our B12 to be up. All right. So they say first sign of B12 deficiency is that relentless tiredness that just won't go away. Boy, do I know about that one. They say over 6% of adults in the U.S. report unexplained fatigue. Well, with the B12 deficiency being the number one culprit, they say the B12 deficiency, we need to reproduce our red blood cells, okay, which carry the oxygen. Without enough, your cells starve for oxygen. So, foods that are rich in B12, like salmon, beef liver, yes. They say fortified cereals can definitely start to make a difference within weeks. So we definitely want to get that done. They say in 2 months, there was a study, and in 2 months of dietary changes, everything was back to normal. Wow. So you may not have to get those B12 shots. Yeah. Tingling, numbness, or pins and needles sensation. Whoa. That's a sign that we are B12 deficient. They say a lack of vitamins, a specific vitamin, that B12 vitamin, can lead to neuropathy. Okay, and that is the tingling and numbness in our hands and our feet. They say it's a neurological issue, and 14% of new neuropathy cases are directly linked to low B12. All right, so they say if we want to increase that, B12 rich foods, sardines, and eggs can definitely help nerve damage. Okay, they say, and in many cases, sardines and eggs can help reverse early symptoms of that numbness and that tingling and those pins and needles sensations in your hands and feet. They say B12 fortified nutritional yeast is also an effective alternative. All right. Pale or jaundiced skin. Wow. That's another issue of B12 deficiency. They say if you notice that your skin is looking unusually pale or slightly yellow, definitely the whites of your eyes. They say this could be more than just stress or lack of sun. They say it's a classic sign of B12 deficiency. And they say without that, our red blood cells break down, causing jaundice. Wow. They say dermatologists now routinely screen for B12 levels in their patients and unexplained yellowing. So they say eating more fortified soy, SOY, and Swiss cheese can help restore your healthy glow. Wow. Who would have thought Swiss cheese would have helped do all of that? They say in a study last year in 2024, dermatology cases, they said adding B12 rich foods reversed the skin changes in 70% of patients within 3 months. Wow. All right. Mood changes and depression. Another sign of the brain B12 connection. And they say that your mental health is connected to your B12 intake deficiency. Yeah. They say that it indicates a 35% higher rate of depressive symptoms with people who have low B12. Wow. Man, you better check your body out, because who knew? They say especially in adults over 50. All righty. So they say that B12 plays a direct role in producing serotonin and dopamine. Wow. Which is, they call that the feel-good brain chemical. All right. They say that foods like tuna fish, fortified plant milks, cottage cheese are now recommended as a part of our mental health treatment plans, because they will increase your B12 in your body, and it will do more for patients than any antidepressant. Wow. They say if your mood has taken a sudden dip, check your plate. All right. So get that cottage cheese, the fortified plant milk, and tuna. Wow. All right. Mouth ulcers. Wow. Mouth ulcers. They say swollen and inflamed tongue and recurring mouth ulcers are common B12 deficient indicators. Wow. I am learning so much here today. They say 1 in 10 patients with chronic mouth sores were found to have low B12 levels. They say these symptoms stem from impaired cell turnover in the mouth's lining. So they say that they found that 60% of patients who improved their B12 after just 6 weeks of increased intake of lean meats, trout, and fortified breakfast bars soothed the irritated mouth. They say dentists are now urging regular B12 screenings for anyone with persistent oral discomfort. Wow, especially if they follow vegetarian or vegan diets. Wow. Are you learning anything here today? Give me a thumbs up, because this is just kind of blowing my mind like crazy. Shortness of breath and dizziness. Wow, they say that if you find yourself breathless after climbing a few stairs, that B12 deficiency could be a part of the problem. They say a 2024 American Heart Association survey, they said 12% of unexplained cases of dizziness and breathlessness were traced back to low B12 levels. They say the mechanism is simple. Fewer healthy red blood cells mean less oxygen for your body's tissue. So they say mackerel, fortified tofu, and low-fat milk can help improve oxygen transport. Wow. One recent patient in New York clinic saw Her symptoms resolve after 3 months of dietary intervention. All right. I'm going to go back over these really quickly when we finish. Blurred vision. They say may not be the fact that you need new glasses. They say optometrists are reporting a rise in B12 deficiency is connected to your blurred vision. They say that in another survey of the American Optometric Association in 2024, they noted that 7% of unexplained vision changes in adults under 40 were tied to low B12. So they say foods like haddock, fortified nutritional shakes have shown to definitely help with the vision loss. All righty. Cognitive difficulties, that's your memory, and a level of confusion, they say have definitely been linked to B12. Alzheimer's and dementia journals have reported in 2025 that 15% of the patients who had memory issues had underlying B12 deficiency. So they say eggs, lean beef, fortified oats improved memory test scores, and in 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, things were better for 12% of the people that they tested. Heart palpitations. Wow. B12. They say in a survey here in March of 2025, 9% of patients who had heart palpitations had low B12. Now they say turkey, chicken breast, and fortified plant-based milks definitely help to turn this around in people who had those issues. Wow. They said especially in people with limited animal products in their diet. Those are, again, those vegans and vegetarians. They say you definitely need to check that out. Wow. All right. So really quickly, let me go over some of the stuff that you need to eat for fatigue and weakness. We're talking about that B12 increase, salmon, beef liver, and fortified cereals. The tingling, numbness, and pins and needles sensation. They say for the B12, you need sardines and eggs. For pale and jaundiced skin, that B12 intake needs to be increased by soy products and Swiss cheese. For mood changes and depression, they say get that tuna, fortified plant milks, and cottage cheese. Mouth ulcers, get that B12 up. Lean meats, trout, fortified breakfast cereals, breakfast bars, scratch that, breakfast bars. Shortness of breath or dizziness, get that B12 up by getting mackerel, fortified tofu, and low-fat milk. They say blurred vision. If you want to get that B12 up, get that haddock and nutritional shakes. That will definitely do the job. They say cognitive difficulties, your memory and confusion. Get that B12 up. Eggs, lean beef, and fortified oats. Definitely get the job done. Heart palpitations. Get that B12 up. You want to get that turkey, chicken breast, and fortified plant-based milks. Wow. That's like Solving a whole lot right there. All righty. Let's see what we're talking about in the news. Did anybody else check in? Oh, we got a check in from our girl, Teresa. Hey, Teresa. All righty. So, Shantice has given us the information. What is this? I don't know how to pronounce this word. Vyaxion. Vyxion. Vyxion. Liquid drops. All righty. So let's get that and do some research. Do some research and see if that'll benefit you. All right. Sounds like it will, along with those B12, all that food, all the natural food. You know, really quickly, we don't have room to eat junk food. We don't have room. Every Monday and Thursday, we go over new foods that will, or old foods for some cases, that will definitely help to boost our health. And I'm trying to figure out, well, when do we have enough hours in the day to eat all of this food? And because some of these foods, they're saying you need to eat every day. Some of these foods, they say you need to eat on a regular basis. And for those of us who are doing like intermittent fasting or, you know, one meal a day or whatever the situation is, you don't have a whole lot of room to eat in a day. So you're going to have to definitely lay off the junk food, because that's taking place of the good foods. So listen, just today alone definitely indicates we have no room for junk food. All right. So let's see what we are talking about in the news. All right. All righty. Well, we got this woman who is not playing with her back. She ain't playing stickball. She ain't playing softball. She is beating people down. Well, I can't say people. There's a guy, Tanisha Mitchell, beat down. And they say that she was in the car driving in Louisiana with him. And his name was Gene Hill Jr. And she's being charged for manslaughter for Mr. Hill. And they say they don't know why, but she and he were in a car driving down the highway, and they ended up in some type of argument. And she 43, he 42. They both got out of the car. She got out of the car, grabbed her bat, beat him down in the street, in his head and his body with the bat, got in her car, drove off, left him there, and he was hit with 2 vehicles. Yeah. And that's what killed him. He didn't make it after that. So now she's being charged with manslaughter, because had she not left him on the road, he wouldn't necessarily be dead. Now, he could be with the bat, but definitely after he got hit with the 2 cars, that did it for him. So, wow. I don't know what he made her mad about, but man, that was not a good argument, clearly. Let's see what else. If you're planning to travel and you like United Airlines, know that they are changing their check-in policy. Beginning June 3rd, you will have to be checked in. Your luggage has to be checked in at least 45 minutes before your departure time. And that's for domestic travelers. For international travelers, your your baggage has to be checked in 60 minutes. Now, they're saying that they really don't know what the change is about because we already have to be to the airport 2 hours before our flight. So definitely you should be meeting this 45 minutes or 60-minute check-in time. But for whatever the reason is, they are saying that United is beefing up that check-in time. Now they're saying everything else remains the same. You can still check in like 24 hours before. You could check in online. Yeah, but that still has nothing to do with your luggage because you can't put your luggage in if you check in, remotely via your app or, online. But definitely they are beefing that up, as well as you need to be to the gate at least 15 minutes before departure. As a matter of fact, they are increasing it to 15 minutes on the plane. So for those of you who are late, now they're saying that if you do not check in on time, that you might be left. Yeah. They say they're not playing. They're not really saying why they're increasing this checked luggage, but it may have a lot to do with, the what do you call it? They've been having a lot of problems with the chargers and batteries and things like that. So that might very well have something to do with this early check-in time. So if you're flying United, definitely go, get online, check all of the updates. If you are flying with anybody, I'm reading on a regular basis that these airlines are changing their policies. Remember Southwest, I think yesterday, the 28th, was the day was either the last day or the day they started the no free bags. So don't be surprised when you get there. So make sure, before you fly, you check all of their information. Go online and check all of their information for any airline because they are all changing something or another, especially when it comes to the batteries and the chargers. All righty. Let's see what else we're talking about today. So another right now unanswered question. They have a woman who has been arrested, who works at a daycare center. So Alexandra Coffey, 29 years old, is being charged with involuntary manslaughter in the death of a little girl, her first day at daycare. And they called mom to tell her that the daughter did not wake up from her nap. Yeah. So they don't know what happened. They did take her to the hospital, and they're not saying why 2 days later, they picked up Miss Coffey and charged her with this involuntary manslaughter. She's been released on $500,000 bond. She don't look like she could afford no $500,000 bond, but she did because she's not in jail. And I would love to there's a lot of stories I'm keeping up with because they're not saying why they chose her, but they are saying that the Department of Health and Human Services suspended the license of this Creative Beginnings daycare center and ordered the facility shut down. So something is up because all these years we've been doing these different stories about daycare centers. We have yet to hear they shut the whole daycare center down, and they didn't arrest the director, they arrested an employee. So I don't know. All I'm saying is ask questions. Ask questions, ask questions, and ask questions when you go into these daycare centers, because like I said, in this news story, they said nothing about why. Nothing at all about why. What else? We have an update here. Remember the other day I talked about that ex-police chief who was serving like 30 years, one because he shot a man in jail, and then the next, back in 1997, he raped a woman, and they put out that John Doe warrant because the statute of limitations was expiring. And while he was in jail, they found out that he was the rapist, this ex-police chief. So here's the deal. They were saying that they couldn't figure out how he got out, how he broke out, but he was, they said, dressed in a certain manner and was able to escape. Well, I don't know if they want to use the word escape anymore, because they checked it and found out that he dressed up like a CO, and he was allowed to walk out of the prison. Yes, another CO opened the gate and let him out. Now, here's the thing. You know your people. You know your people. You work here 5-6 days a week. How many hours? You know your inmates, and you know your co-workers. You are a CO. You see a brand new CO, and you're going to let him walk out just like that? Where's your identification? Just because you had the clothes on? So this is going to be another case of, the workers just letting the people out. They remember now, still 2 are on the lam in New Orleans. They still have not caught 2 of those. This ex-police chief is still on the lam. Yeah, he walked out. I don't even say broke out. He didn't escape. He walked out of there, and walked out of there again thanks to one of his buddies. Because I'm not believing this. I'm not believing that no more than I'm believing that the janitor over in New Orleans did not allow him to, was not forced to take that toilet bowl off. So that's three prisoners on the run. All righty. Woo! Let's see what else we can talk about before we get our Due Time crew on the line. So you've got this human smuggling conspiracy where an entire Indian family froze to death. So you've got these 2 guys, and when I tell you, Shantice, please show this picture, because I can't imagine these 2 being the head of anything. Well, they are in charge of this smuggling ring where they got a family who went from the United States to the Canadian border, and then they smuggled them into United States from Canada. Now, they initially came from some Indian country of this guy who's on my left. He belongs to that country. He originated from that country as well. That's probably where they got this family from. Well, this family had 2 young children. They say, I think one of the babies was like 2 or 3 years old. And somehow or another, they got stuck at a point and they ended up freezing to death. Yeah. They say they were found 33 feet from the U.S. border in 36-degree weather, 2 adults, an 11-year-old and a 3-year-old. And they have been given 11 years in prison and 6.5 years in prison. And probably what happened was they got them all the way to Canada with little problem, because they did say that he was responsible for getting them from that country. So they got them all the way to Canada and probably had difficulty getting them over the U.S. border. And that's why they were so close, but yet so far, and ended up the entire family they found frozen to death. So I don't know, how long they had been there, because 36 degrees is cold, but that's not freezing. But if you're coming from another country where it's hot all the time, who knows what your body is accustomed to? Maybe for us, New Yorkers or someone from Chicago or Michigan or, someplace that, we endure the cold, it wouldn't really bother us, but the whole family. So I'm trying to figure out how they only got 11 years and 6.5 years if they were responsible for smuggling these people. So I don't know. Maybe the other country might afterwards, maybe they may expedite them back. Never know. Where's my due time crew? Where is my girl Tamika? Let's say good morning to Lady Tamika. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you today?
I am well, thank you. I am well. Thank you for the impromptu, appearance. We were supposed to have our girl Athena on with us, but she is rescheduled for next week as she had some unexpected stuff to do. So thank you so much for jumping in. And let's get to talking about this news here. All right. So we got this woman Tanisha, who got so mad at this man, jumped out of her car, beat him in the head and body with a baseball bat, jumped back in her car, left him on the road, and he was subsequently hit by 2 cars and murdered at that point. But they charged her with manslaughter. How much time should she get for this one?
I'm just envisioning the fact that you beat this man. Not only did you beat him, you left him literally for dead. And because of your negligence, people don't think of, we have to be very, very careful, especially with this anger and this rage and, that type of, you're definitely not thinking, what's the worst that could happen? He's going to get up and walk away or, crawl away or whatever. You never would have thought that he got hit by not one vehicle, but 2. God.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in her mind that was the least of what she could have thought of. She didn't mean him any well, considering that she left him there after beating him badly in the head. You're talking about you planning on doing major damage. Whether he got hit by a car or not, he could have passed away from just the injuries in the head. You're gonna have to serve some time. You're gonna have to serve some serious jail time.
Absolutely. I thought about that as well. I'm like, okay, so you thought the beating was enough. He made you mad. You jumped out of the car. He got out of the car. You beat him with the bat. He was like, you did your thing. And lo and behold, he ends up dead. So I don't know, Tamika. I'm thinking she needs some time for this one.
Yep.
Because you are definitely responsible. Well, what else are we talking about? Let's talk about this escapee who they allowed to just walk out of the prison. They say he was dressed in CO gear, so he was mistaken for a CO, and one of the other COs just let him out. Do you think this was a mistake, or do you think that this was a part of the plan?
Are you so not paying attention that you missed? You didn't look at the person's face at all, so you just looked at the outfit and oh, okay, you know. Where does that come from? That goes to show you that you're not paying attention. A whole lot of people are not paying attention, or he had something on somebody, that caused them to say, okay, or he knew somebody in the jail, maybe somebody higher up. People don't realize, just because you're a government official or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that you're squeaky clean, and so you knew somebody or you had something over somebody. One of the two.
Absolutely. And you know what my thought was as you were talking? These COs don't necessarily walk around with CO clothing on. Most times they change their clothes before they leave. So how are you walking out with CO clothes on and you're undetected?
Right.
Yeah.
Where'd you get access to it? Exactly.
Right. You full of garbage. Yeah. They let him out. They let him out big time. Big time. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's see what our girl Shantice has got to say about these news stories. Good morning, Shantice. Maybe she's not ready. Oh, Shantice has a new face, Tamika.
Hey, Shantice, how are you? That's some makeover.
Hey, girl. Yes. Good morning, Vivian.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. I think you may have an identity crisis. You or Shantice.
Again, what is going on?
Let me know, girl. Let me know. Okay, I got you. Well, Vivian. So we're talking about this woman who got out of her car, beat him down with a bat, and left him for dead, because that's exactly what happened to him. He got hit twice with 2 passerby vehicles. What are we talking about here? How much time should she get, V?
She should get the maximum amount for manslaughter. Because even if you didn't hit him and kill him, you left him for dead and he died. He wound up dying. So she needs to get the maximum time. And I've been seeing a lot of videos lately of people who were doing something and now they're, being questioned and they don't realize that they've just killed somebody, like a drunk driver who got into a car accident but didn't realize that the person that they hit actually died. Wow. So imagine being arrested and I beat him with the bat and you don't even realize that what you did caused this man his life. I can only imagine how that went down, but she needs to serve the maximum time for manslaughter because your actions killed this person.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. Now I'm going to give you the other story. We're talking about the human trafficking set who... Girl, looking at these two, I'm trying to figure out how they put a puzzle together. They were able to smuggle this family from their country to Canada. But when they got to Canada, they did not quite get the family across the U.S. border. So 33 feet from the U.S. border, this entire family was found frozen to death, had been left in weather as cold as 36 degrees. And I believe it was the one in red, he with the glasses, he got 11 years and the other one got 6.5 years. Now, I don't know how they split the difference and who got more time, but definitely they this is the time that they got. Is this enough time for this human smuggling issue?
So were they smuggling because of like migrant situation or like sex trafficking or something?
No, they didn't say anything about like sex trafficking. This was like just human smuggling, like illegal.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, that's sad. That's sad. It goes back to the story that we told on Socially Conscious about the people, how many people have died since Trump's been in office because they're illegally trying to get
Mhm.
into the country.
Right,
It's
right,
just
right.
it's sad. Like just stay where you are, even if it's temporary, until he's out of office. You're literally risking your life. And this is one of those stories where they risked it all to get over here, only to wind up dead.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's
yeah.
worth it. I think
No,
it's sad. I think they need to get more time though, because if you couldn't get across the border, why not just turn around? If that was an option, why leave the
right,
people there to die at the end
right,
of the day?
right, right.
Abort mission
And
and go back home.
right, 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 right. And you know what? But here's the problem. If they smuggled them, maybe there was no way for them to get them back.
Mhm.
So they were smuggled all the way to that point. And unfortunately, like I said, from Canada into the United States, they couldn't get them. So
Mhm.
thus their
Well,
lives.
well, get caught. Be like, all right, let them search the vehicle, find the people, get caught, and do the jail time for that, rather than now you doing jail time because the people you were trying to smuggle over here are now dead. So
Yeah.
you should have still like not just left them there, not abandoned them that way.
Yeah, they probably panicked, excuse
Hmm.
me. And can you imagine? Yes, they left these people there with an 11-year-old and a 3-year-old. Excuse
Wow.
me. And the entire family froze to death. So this was pretty heinous, like you said, pretty thoughtless as well. So, woo, we got some stuff to be dealing with. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's talk to our Pastor KL. See if we can get him up in the room. Does Pastor KL have an identity crisis too? Oh, okay. I was like, is he faceless?
I was going to say, everybody's
No.
doing
Well,
videos.
I can see
Yeah.
me. I can see me.
Unfortunately, we couldn't see you. Before we go any further, let's give a hearty shout out to Miss Charlene. Good morning, Miss Charlene. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Happy to see you on. Pastor KL, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? Can you see me?
I sure can. I can sure see you. Yes, thank
All
you
right.
very much for ensuring that we can see you. We've got this woman who beat this man to death with a bat. Well, she didn't beat him to death with the bat. She got out of a car, beat him with the bat, and then left him on the road where he got hit by 2 cars and is now dead. She's being charged with manslaughter. How much time should she get for this?
So he didn't die because he got hit with the bat. He died because he got hit by the car.
It appears as though he died from being hit by the 2 cars more than being beat with the bat.
Yeah, she should get the max time. What I'm concerned about is, I guess in his pain and in his drunken stupor, if you will, the other 2 cars, they were just in the wrong place. Well, no, he was in the wrong place. So now they may be facing time as well because of the situation. So she should get time for the other 2 cars and for what she did. Because it had not been for her, the cars wouldn't have hit her.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't even know if they found out who the drivers were in the other two cars. These were witnesses that actually were able to attest to what happened. They said they saw her stop the car, jump out. He got out. She beat him in the head and the body with the bat, jumped back in her car, raced off, and that's when he got hit with the two cars. So I don't even know if they even know who the two drivers were. But definitely, I'm in agreement with all of you. You know, she definitely needs to eat all of this, because had it not been for her, because you know, like I think it was Vivian said, you know, do they really know even what happened? I don't know if it was daytime, nighttime. I don't know what time this was. So, whew, I tell you, what an issue. All right, so you've got this escape ex-police chief in this from this Arkansas prison. The other day we talked about the fact that he was dressed and escaped. He didn't escape. They found out that he was dressed in CO clothing, and another CO actually opened the gate and let him out. Do you think this was another case of an inside job and someone helped him escape?
This was definitely inside. I mean, if he was a chief, you know, people are familiar with who he is. You know, this is not just some random, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, you know, behind bars. You know who this is. You probably had dealings with him. You know, you probably worked with him before. And how would you get the outfit? You know what I mean? Do they have a costume room in the left wing? You know, how did you get the outfit? And then it's just my size. It's just my size. Yeah, this is definitely inside.
You brought up two very good points. How'd you get the clothing, and how does this fit you so perfectly that you can just gallivant out of this place? Yeah. This is definitely an inside job. Thank you so much for joining us, Pastor KL. Let's get our girl Shantice on the line and see what she says about these stories, and then we can move on.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry.
Good.
I was having some technical difficulties.
Okay. We didn't know whether you were trying to switch places with Vivian, you know, and you know, escape. I don't know. You know, I don't know. I don't know how this was going to work. But we've got the woman who, you know, we want to know how much time she deserves for causing this man's death, one way or the other, if not both.
She should definitely get for everything, because you can't determine, you know, how many times have we've heard of someone being beaten and or raped or whatever, and they don't always pass away right away. You know, sometimes it's not until the body, like a few hours or a few days. And then, you know, I had a cousin who got shot and he was in ICU for a month and then died. You know, so it's not always immediate. So the trauma you cause to the body, just because you caused it at 3 o'clock, but then 9 different things happen, and then at 9 o'clock they died, that doesn't mean that what you did at 3 o'clock was not the cause of death or contributed to the cause of death. So she should get for murder. And it's sad because when you're in that headspace, you're just thinking, I just want to do what I want to do right now. If I want to hit you, if I want to smack you, if I want to beat you with this bat, if I want to run you over, I just want to be able to do that. And then later on, you hop up and say, you all right. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case here. So she would have to be charged for murder.
All righty. And we've got this smuggling team. And they smuggled this family all the way from their country of origin to the Canadian border. But when they got to the Canadian border, they couldn't quite get them over into the United States. And 33 feet from the border, the family was found dead, frozen to death. 11 years and 6.5 years. Where did half a year come from? But I don't know. 6.5 years. Is this enough time?
No, because again, even without you thinking about the risks, it unfortunately, all these people are dead now. So, there's no resurrecting, there's no hospitalizing them and hoping they get better. They're dead. So now, because of what you helped facilitate, even if it was their idea, we want to make our way into the United States. We want to make our way across the border. You still facilitated this. So now they're going. They can't say whether it was their idea or not. So now you got to take the rap for every part of this. Every part of this no plan, you're going to have to take the credit for and the accountability for. So I don't know, maybe the half a year was because they felt they should get more, but then didn't. They said, okay, so we're going to meet in the middle and give you another half year. I don't know how that works either, but I don't see how 11 years and 6.5 years is enough for an entire family to show up dead.
Yeah.
Because you were trying to sneak them into the country or into the state that now. I don't see how that's enough.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. This is kind of a slap on the wrist,
Right.
Even for the smuggling alone.
Right.
So it's like there's no penalty even for the smuggling. But something is short. Either there's no penalty for the smuggling, or you're definitely short on how much time they got for those bodies that were found. 4 lives. So it's really, really not enough time. Thank you so much for joining me, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So this is prom season. And as you scroll through Instagram, you can't help but see some of the attire in the festivities. And I think I'm going to kind of roll this out until the end of the school year, because I'm sure right now we've got the South who, they're doing prom, because up here in the North, we don't graduate until June. So all of their proms will be sometime next month. So I've chatted with Anika. So she's going to help us with some of these visuals of the prom gear. So give it to us, and then we're going to go into our main topic. But give us a couple at a time, and I'll kind of advance you along. Is she ready? Are you ready, Anika?
Yeah, look at the details. Look at the details. Oh yeah. Oh, you thought that was ready? Oh yeah.
It wasn't ready.
It wasn't ready.
The real one. Longest time ever.
Longest time ever. Wrap it up, y'all. Prom 2025. Listen, y'all. When I tell y'all they coming, y'all. Look at this man tie. Look at this man tie. 10-foot tie. Who doing that?
Nobody.
Prom 2025, y'all.
Yeah.
He came with it. He came. The tie jacket. Who doing it? Right here. That's the man right there. That's the man right there.
Like this.
Nobody did
See
it.
the top?
World star. My type of cutting up. Kenny say everybody got to see it.
Everybody gotta see this. I told y'all, boy.
All right, we can get a pause. Now, I will ask you, Anika, to eliminate the volume on some of the
They're already
other...
eliminated. The ones that
okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, because I want to see the video, but we can't handle the audio. All right, so we got this 10-foot tie and the tie jacket. Do we need this, Tamika?
Somewhere morning, I'll fly away. I'll fly. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that jacket. I'm like, you look like a falcon, or some type of bird with extra wings. And somebody obviously had a whole lot of material that they didn't want to part with, so they decided to make this 10-foot tie. which you really don't think about, because as soon as you get out there on the dance floor and you let it roll, somebody's gonna step on it and you're gonna die. It's gonna end up getting you choked and like fought. I think today's episode is little. Well, I didn't think about that. I think that's what we should name it. I didn't think about that Thursday.
You ain't seen nothing yet, girl. You ain't seen nothing yet. Vivian, do we need this 10-foot tie?
No, we do not. This is definitely influenced by all the red carpets and award shows that just recently passed. And he thought it would be, or whoever made this thought that he was going to kill it, showing up there with this 10-foot tie dragging on the floor. No, we do not need this.
What about you, Pastor KL? You're the man with a tie. Do we need a 10-foot tie plus the tie jacket?
I'm trying to figure out, is he graduating from Ringling Brothers University? Because he looks like a clown. He looked like a clown. As much as I like to dress, that would never be a fashion statement. He looks like a clown.
Don't forget the face piece, Shantice.
I was about to have a whole lot of criticism, and right before the video ended, the thought came to mind, like, this is a young man excited about prom. Not excited about the drive-by he just did. Not excited about the lick they just pulled off. Not excited about the girl he just got pregnant. It's a bunch of boys standing with their phones out for their mans to walk in, whether he looked like Big Bird or not. But they at prom, which means they did all their reading and they about to get their diploma. And it's like, all right, you couldn't have both, sir. Like, if you're gonna have the feather jacket, then don't have the long tie. Or you have a long tie, then don't have the fur jacket. Like, come on. But it was just like, can I really sit here and criticize them right now? They are graduating from high school, where most of these kids out here now are dying from TikTok challenges. They're not the ones that was running in the fence yesterday. We know that. Amen to that. But yeah, it was like, okay, we happy you here. The tie could have been a little shorter, even if it just went to your ankles. But I was just like, look at all of them excited to see each other at the prom. I think I saw one girl in that clip of all of them surrounding that door. There was one girl. The rest of them were boys. So I don't know. That's where my focus was for this clip for the most part.
All righty, Anika, hit it. You can take us to the next clip, Anika. It isn't bad. All right. We got Beauty and the Beast, as well as the goats and the animals, as well as the pumpkin coach coming to prom. Tamika.
Help me. Help me. I'm thinking about all the different animals that were used on the first dress for the Beauty and the Beast, and my heart goes out to the gentleman who's dressed as a beast because we don't even know who you are. You know, and I'm like, most proms are during the summer. Hopefully you're not in the area where it's hot because you won't die again because you can't breathe. And then I'm looking at the Cinderella. That's really taking it to the. I thought the little pumpkin thing was cute. You really want to go all the way? Where the mice?
You know what?
Okay, I'm just. Let's go all the way out.
He said, "Where the mice?" I'm done. Vivian, we got goats attending the prom.
This is just too much. And I could just imagine the amount of debt people put themselves into to make this stuff happen for a high school prom. Now, I understand in this community how special it is for our kids to graduate high school because a lot of them just don't care. We got 3-year-olds talking about they tired of school, they don't like school. So it's getting harder and harder to keep them motivated all the way through high school. But to do all of this is just way too much. It's way too much. What are you going to do when they graduate college? Are they going to college? Are you going to be able to afford to send them to college after all of this? It's just too much. It's too much.
Pastor KL.
I'm with Vivian. You just spend my whole scholarship money on this nonsense right here. And then for me, if I'm spending all this money, you better been the valedictorian. Because if you just barely graduated with a D, you know what I mean? You just barely graduated, right. and we spent all this money. Now let me ask you another question. I can barely feed Snoopy at the house. Now I got goats. So who's watching the goats until you get out of the prom? Who does that? Is there a goat check ticket or something? Like you put up your coats, you put up the goats? I don't understand where the props go at this point.
Shantice, listen, they graduated.
I was with you until I saw the leash around the goat. And I'm trying to understand the symbolism. What does this mean? Are you trying to say you're the GOAT? Maybe he's the valedictorian. He's the GOAT of the class. Maybe that's what it was. Because what's symbolic about having the GOAT in the street? That how much it costs to rent a goat?
Right.
Do you know
what it
how
costs
much
to feed a
it
goat?
costs to rent? It's cheaper to just go on a trip to the farm. Like what? I don't. That part lost me. I was good until I saw that part, and I was like, "See how we just." This is why we can't rise as a people, because this reminds me of how they have. I know a professional clown who used to always talk about him doing birthday parties for people in the projects. No shade to those who live in the projects. You living in the projects and you out there, not only did you pay for the $300-400 clown, you got the costume character, you got horses and all that out there. Do you know how much that costs? But you in the hood doing all of this. It's kind of questionable.
Wow.
That's the limit.
Anika says the boys are trying to outdo the girls now. The schools don't have a dress code. It ain't the school.
Is there no nipples showing? That's the code.
Goats and coats. I can't, says Tamika. All righty. Anika, we got more.
Ooh. Well,
All right, Tamika, you got first dibs. The car parade. What we talking about?
I think it's a beautiful thing that, you're graduating high school, but there are still moments of life that are still happening, and, mom and dad are going broke. They're going through bankruptcy so you can have a prom, it's just too much, and it's not just the ladies, it's the men. I'm looking at, pearls and sequins on the back of your jacket. Do you know how much that costs? Just as a female buying a gown, that's one thing. You're talking about a gentleman with, you had to reinforce and do that, especially if it's homemade. That's an entirely different thing. And 9 times out of 10, if you're buying it online, they're charging you more for the pearls and diamonds. I'm looking at the girl with the feathered dress. How many birds had to die so you could wear one dress? I'm looking at, there was this blue kind of teal thing. And I'm like, the first thing I thought was under the sea. I thought of because the whole thing, like, under the sea. I'm looking at this green jade thing with the extra sleeves. I thought of Missy Elliott in her video with the extra puff stuff. I'm just like, all this pomp and circumstance. And I get it. I understand that this is your prom. But, you still got, like, you just learned basically how to walk and talk. And now you I'm looking at these dresses, which are beautiful, but you can't get out of the car. 9 times out of 10, they're going to get ruined because 9 times out of 10, you haven't been to any event that causes you to wear that type of dress. And for someone who wears those types of dresses, they're not easy. Moving with a train is and it doesn't have a bustle is very complicated. Trying to move, you're trying to dance and have a good time. You're not doing that. And, if there are any dresses, not dresses, shoes that lace up, you spend more time trying to lace up those shoes all day long. You're bending down. Those things were not meant to stay up. So the whole time you're trying to fix that. Then you got to fix your makeup and your hair. And it's just way too much for one event, for one day. I can see a whole lot of trauma happening. Stains, you're going to drink, you're going to eat. Imagine all of the drama, all the issues that are going to happen to the dress or the jacket. You got guys with white jackets. I don't wear white, and you wearing white, and you're going to eat and drink. What a travesty, But if it's just for, one day, and, mom and dad are not broke, that's one thing. If they can afford it, go right ahead. But the average household going into bankruptcy just for that one event.
Vivian.
I was really trying to look and see if I noticed any of these kids to be like a celebrity's child. Because if these are just average people and you doing all of this, and it's not even for one day, because how long is a prom? Like 3-4 hours?
Right.
So you going into bankruptcy for 3-4 hours of dancing? This is more than just for prom. This is what social media has done. Because this is all they're doing it for. To take a bunch of pictures and videos to post on social media, because prom is only 3-4 hours and then you're back to your regularly scheduled program. So this is all because of TikTok, Instagram, and all these social media platforms that people want to go through all of this, spend all this money so that they can stunt for the next couple of months on social media.
What you got to say, girl? We about to lose you.
This is just too much. It's too much. Please, let's go back to the basics. I'm all for the fashion Don't be doing too much with the cost of things. I'm all for that. But when it comes to the cars and the goats and all this stuff, it's just too much. Let's bring it back to basic. Let's stop going into debt for a couple of hours of fun. Let's just, memorialize this accomplishment in some other ways. Put this money towards their future. This is just too much. This is silly.
All righty. Thank you so much for your contribution into today's conversation. And we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you. You as well. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. All right. We got to check in from our Deacon Diallo. Good morning. Thank you so much for dropping by. We hope you're doing well. Pastor KL, this is a car parade at this point.
You know what? I'm going to go back to, I think it was Tuesday when Shantice and I was on, and she kept on saying those famous words, back in y'all days. Well, I'm going to go back in our days. Back in our days, it was a crisis in the house when we couldn't find a bus pass. It was a crisis. Back in our days, we was excited when we got free lunch. So my question is, all this transportation money you saved and all this free lunch money you saved, you were able to buy these kind of cars? You was able to do all this stuff? Is that the come up? And what are you teaching your child? Now let's look at the daughter. If you're doing this for the prom, you're gonna die at the wedding. You'll have no money for the wedding. And this is what we do to children at young stages. When we give them everything now, every birthday, every round goes higher and higher. You know what I mean? Back in the days, our dream was to have a pony at the birthday party. Now these people got ponies at birthday parties. I'm just not understanding how that works. So what do you get? People are buying cars for graduation, and they're not buying hoopty cars. You're a crash dummy. You gonna crash the car. But now we're buying cars off the lot. I'm just not understanding what we're doing as parents anymore.
Shantice, car parade.
I mean, if y'all renting a lot of these, the thing now, long go the days of having limos that go to the prom. Now you rent cars. So if a few of us, we gonna ante up and rent this car, then okay. A lot of these cars, these were luxury cars. So needless to say, that cost a pretty penny. If you doing this dolo, as they say in the streets, meaning by yourself, then absolutely to everything that Pastor KL said. If the parents were able to collaborate, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna put in two, you put in two, because I think that was about the price my mother had to put in for when I went to prom in the limo, then that's something else. It's just being able to do all of this for your children is great. Again, especially because the culture now is forget school. It's all about what I want to do, but you still have to have some limits. And the limit is when I let you wipe out my savings. So if that's what it's doing, if this is wiping out my savings, because you pretty much know from sophomore year if your child gonna graduate. So if you start saving up from sophomore year, then by the time you get here, there's a lot of ways, especially if it's a female, she can look real good and it doesn't have to be expensive. But if it's now breaking your pocket and now y'all can't afford to the transportation to the graduation because you done did all this at prom, then now we got a problem. But I actually like the little fly girls there. That was cute. That was cute. Little fly girls standing there, and they were standing on each side of the, one was on the girl, one on the side of the boy. That was cute. I didn't think that was too much, because friends will do that for each other. I didn't see them having to pay those girls to do that. But as long as they ain't breaking your pockets, that clip right there, I didn't see anything too much.
All righty. We got 3 more, so we're going to roll them straight through. And hit it, Anika.
They are so wrong.
Shantice, you got first dibs on these.
I wasn't feeling that. It wasn't too much. I just wasn't feeling that. The snowball, that was actually really cute to me. That was, I could see me doing that with my daughter. I could see her dress wasn't
I'm
over.
glad it's on your dollar.
No, because grandma's gonna help too. So grandma, start saving. Thank you. It's your.
I'm going back in the day, like Pastor KL said.
No, I'm gonna close down the street like it's a block party and everything. That was actually cute. That was cute. Mr. Brown going to the prom. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. That looked like a wardrobe malfunction while that suit was still on the hanger. I don't know how you thought when putting that on, that suit still made sense. And she's just standing next to him. You couldn't be in my prom pictures with that suit on. No. Those weren't like over the top for me. It was just those, the first and the last look. I couldn't get with.
How about the white socks? Look at the white socks. Look at the white socks.
Look at the white. Right. So you got the gothic look, but then your socks are white. I don't understand how that went either. Again, you couldn't be in my prom picture. Like, no, I'm your date. I bet you are, but not in these pictures. We're just gonna have to tell people that you were my date. Because what? So you went and bought the suit, but you couldn't buy the black socks? Just like a man. That is just like a man. Like, how you miss y'all be thinking that the smallest things be most important details, bro. So you ain't got the gym socks to go with. How much you spend on that suit? About $500? But then you got on the pack of socks. Come on. Horrible.
Pastor KL.
I'm sorry. My socks always match my shirts. I'm sorry. If I'm wearing a pink shirt, I'm wearing pink socks. I'm sorry. Not just like a man. I'm sorry. But I think my thought about this is that a lot of the dresses are pretty. They're nice. My frustration would be I'm spending all this money and you wind up on fries. You wind up on fries. That is your career. You wind up on fries. So yeah, we had this big old milestone as if we were going up. And now tomorrow is, would you like a shake with that? You know what I mean? We got that's just a problem for me. That's a problem for me. And let me say one more thing, because I thought you were gonna get a picture of this, and I'm gonna send it to you, Pastor Steph. But here in Alabama, they came to prom in a hearse and got out in a casket because they were casket shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is
I had that one. I don't know what happened to it, but I'm gonna pull it back up for our next round.
I'm not. Listen, I'm scared to die. I don't need to be fitted for no casket. No, thank you.
Oh, hey, brother Al. Good morning.
Top of the morning. Everything's everything.
All right now. I don't know. Did you miss all the pictures of all the prom gear and everything?
No, I seen it all. My thing with it is, like I said, I'm like Pastor Carol. I'm from the old school, and I know you want the prom to be nice, and for me, I just think it's all ridiculous. This stuff didn't start until one day they were showing something on TV, and the celebrities was doing their sweet 16s and stuff like that. Then it just went outrageous. So you got these parents out here going broke, getting all this stuff for their kids. And of course, we all want our kids to do stuff. How about but teaching them to save some money? They buying these dresses and stuff that they're never going to wear again except for that day. And then I saw one of the pictures on there. One of the young ladies looked like she had a bathing suit on, and the thing under. That's ridiculous, you know. And I made my money off, the proms when I used to DJ the proms, and I remember DJing the prom. And this mother and father spent $25,000 on her after party, and I'm like, yo, that is insane to me. And my brother always liked luxury stuff. He works hard. He has a Bentley. And I have drove people to their prom and made a ton of money. And I'm looking at them. One lady, her school is exactly 5 blocks from where she lives, and she wanted me to drive her daughter. She gave me $400 to drive her daughter 5 blocks down the block and drop them off. And I'm like, yo, that's insane. When we was growing up, you got together, you and some friends got together, and y'all paid for a limo. That's cool. That's cool. But these kids here, oh, that's cute, and that's this and that. You spending all this money, but your child ain't got a bank account. You ain't barely got money in your account. For me, that's just ridiculous. I don't care how cute it is. I just think that's insane.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Tamika said his suit was the last one on the rack. He tried it on the day of the prom.
He tried on right when they said, okay, it's time to take pictures. Because that was still like, come on, bro.
Ooh, that thing was tight and young.
That's why he kept trying to he acting like he repositioned himself for the pose. No, you trying to loosen up the pants.
You could barely breathe. He tried to take all these shots like this.
There is no way you would have been in my prom photo.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. Tamika, what are you saying going out of this joint about this prom business?
I believe, it's a nice thing, but moms, dads, think about what happened, just think about the resources that you need for the future, and if you've ever been to a prom, it can be real chaotic. I still, believe it or not, I still have my prom dress. Don't ask me why I still have it, but I do.
Because you paid too much for it. You got to save it.
Yeah, mom and dad went through a whole lot. And I mean, I put my mother through a whole lot to get this dress that I still can't. You couldn't pay me to wear it today. It's ugly. It's green. And it's horrible. At any rate, you put mom and dad, children, think about the resources that are going to be used. Do something as a parent that's lifelong. Your children are going to, there are things that they really need, college education, if they're going to get married, give them something that's going to last when you leave, because you don't know what tomorrow holds, but God knows what holds, who holds tomorrow. And so give them the right things, tools that are life lasting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was laughing in the background because I thought about Pastor KL saying, I'm mad if I do all of this and you end up on fries.
Then they wear that dress to work them fries. And then when they move on to lettuce, then the grill. In next 2 years, she'll be assistant manager.
Goodness. I didn't even think, that didn't even come to my mind. And it is
She ready to dress at the staff party. She gonna wear the dress at the staff party.
It is so important, Brother Al. Comment on that one. Pastor KL says, listen, I'm gonna be mad if I did all of this and you ended up on fries. What say you?
Me too. And it is true. My school right now is getting ready for their prom. We got kids getting ready for their prom, and there's a couple of kids that's in the 12th grade reading, a 6th grade reading level, a 7th grade reading level. Number one, how you even get in the 12th grade? Because they just pushing them through. So now you get ready, you stressing your parents to get through all this stuff, and you're gonna be packing bags. I mean, I done paid a fortune, and now you packing bags. No, bro, no, sir. You gonna work at least 15 hours a day to pay me back. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so let me ask you men. Is there any reason why you would flush your child out for prom? You talked about the lack of grades. So if valedictorian, if you had the money, is there any reason why you would spend the money, brother Al?
No, I don't care what you said. I ain't spending all that money. I'm just gonna be straight honest with you. I'm not spending all that money because I'm gonna break it down to you. Now, what we will do, of course, I know the prom is a big thing for you, right? So you know what? What we're gonna do? We're gonna go out and rent you a dress. We're not buying no dress because you're only gonna wear it that one time. So you know what? Your grades is good. You've been working hard. Let's go out and rent you something real nice. And we're gonna rent you a nice little dress. Put some money in your bank account. You go to the prom. Now you got a choice. You can Uber to it, or I'll drive you in my little Durango, or you can get with some friends. You can get with some friends, and we're going. But I'm not spending all that money. I don't care. I'm sorry, not doing it.
I learned how to read, and I'm gonna wear a dress that somebody else done wore.
Well, whatever. Either that or you get nothing.
I think I'd rather go on my jeans.
Well, that'll be fine. I don't care. Don't spend all that money for no dress you gonna wear one time. What sense does that make? You gonna wear that dress one time? Tamika just said her dress hanging up in the closet. Can't fit it no more. Just sitting there. I'm a pawn it. Get some money.
Oh my goodness. Pastor KL, is there any reason, you're the one who brought up on fries, but it's the valedictorian and she's worked her butt off. He's worked his butt off to get here. Am I willing to pay and go to this expense for any reason?
I'm not. Okay, so let me say this. I'm going to say a line that most of you young folks never heard of in your life. And the line is tenant ready. You ever been getting evicted? I'm spending all this money. I'm not going to be able to pay rent. So I'm going to have to go to court, and they're going to ask me, is the tenant ready to talk about this? Now, so you got a wonderful prom, with a horse and carriage that we can't live. We can't eat the goat. You know what I mean? So we hungry and we got nowhere to live. Tenant ready. I got to make sure you have my responsibility is to provide. I'm supposed to make sure you have a roof over your head. You doing well in school, you're supposed to do that. Yeah, I big you up because you did it, but that's your job. I'm going to do my job. You continue to do your job. And then you won't have to worry about tenant ready.
Maybe it's a good thing, Pastor Steph, my father wasn't in my life. Because if these were... if I had to allow him to decide I wanted the prom, goodness gracious.
Well,
hey, Pastor that goat may come in handy. That goat will come in handy. You can make some curry goat.
My kids turned out well. And we didn't have no goats.
Well,
we didn't even eat curry goat.
Listen, Shantice recycled her we didn't have a sweet 16, we had a sophisticated 17. She recycled the dress and wore it to the prom, and I have to tell you, it looked like two different dresses. Same dress, it looked like two different dresses. So it really has nothing to do with even the father. As a single mother with a mortgage, I just couldn't spend that kind of money to put out there like that. And listen, I'll chip in, like you both said, for the limousine. I chipped in with the other parents. I think I paid like $200 for the limousine. And I bought the prom ticket. And she had a great time. I even spent money for the after party ticket. And she had a great time. And I didn't spend anywhere near the amount of money that we've watched today, and she had a ball.
Sure did.
We gotta check in from AJ. Hey AJ, are they going to be able to read the signs to get to the prom, brother Al? That's what AJ says. So it has nothing to even do with, I'm glad my father wasn't there. Mama wasn't paying that kind of money. And I'll use the rest for my closing. But thank you all for your contribution. This was fun, for your contribution into today's conversation. And we pray you have a blessed day. Thanks for jumping on board, brother Al.
Thank you.
Hey, hey, Pastor, one quick thing too, right? They spend all this money and trying to go to the prom, but you give them a regular clock. They can't tell you the time so they can get there on time.
Right. No analog clock. We got to give them a digital. Absolutely, brother Al. Oh my goodness. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Woo. What an expense. Again, like I said, it's prom season in the southern states. And as you're scrolling through Instagram, you can't help but come across all of these different videos of individuals as well as groups. I didn't comment while this was going on. And, Beauty and the Beast was a bit much. I'm sorry. Mika, who said, we don't even see who he is. Now, maybe it really wasn't a date. Maybe it was her dad, or maybe it was a friend or her brother. And it was for her to show herself that day. It wasn't like all the other couples, who went, where he was dressed like her or same color. Or now, as Anika said, the guys are trying to outdo the girls. They got rhinestones and stuff on their jackets and all kinds of things. The horse and carriage. I can't even imagine the expense of a horse and carriage. I can't imagine the expense of some of those cars that went down the runway. I can't imagine, did you see the girl with the huge white, beautiful hat? Oh my gosh, it was gorgeous. And they looked like they were going to a wedding. Like they were the brides and they were the grooms. And I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen brides and grooms dressed the way these kids were dressed. I do agree with the panel, the Due Time crew, that says the expense is extraordinary, unnecessary, and well premature. I don't even know if I want to spend that much on a marriage with the way these marriages are not even lasting these days. If you want that kind of marriage, you better have your own money, because I'm not even putting out that kind of money for you to get married. As has been said, hey, what happened to the educational part? Brother Al says they're getting ready for prom, and yet they can't even read properly. Pastor KL says, I'm gonna be mad if I put all this money out and you on fries. It's true. How many of these kids are actually going to further their education? When Shantice first started, she's talked about the fact that, hey, I'm celebrating the fact that these kids are just accomplishers. They've accomplished going to school. They've accomplished getting through high school. And I definitely want to salute them. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. We want to salute them. But am I going to rent a goat? What is that symbolic of? And there was another animal there. I don't really remember what the animal was. But am I really doing all of this? The girl in the bubble, the Globe. I'm sorry, Shantice. She said she putting her daughter in that. You know what? I guess I'll be in my wheelchair watching, because I am surely not attributing or contributing to that. That I'm not putting my money out for that. You know, I'm real funny too. I'm from the age of Pastor KL and Brother Al. I'm not putting my money out for this. We do have to live afterwards. And there's nothing wrong with allowing you to look absolutely gorgeous without going through this kind of expense. I just told you about Shantice, my youngest. She didn't cost me much more. You know, her dress was handmade, and it wasn't really expensive. I rented a car. I rented a car for her, and I'm talking about rent, like Avis budget rent, a nice car. But it didn't cost a lot of money. She didn't have a prom date. She didn't want a prom date, and she didn't want to partner up with like the limousine drivers. And at that point, there were no more limousines, barely. You got luxury cars. So we did get a luxury car, but it wasn't one that was astronomical. It was economical. And she rode by herself, and she got someone who we knew. She asked him to dress up and be her chauffeur for the night and her photographer. And he did just that. Very good family friend. And, you know, I'd given her a big sweet 16, you know, so there was some money spent on that. Not astronomical either, but very nice and well put together. Nice amount of money spent. But again, nowhere near what they spent for prom. Was a whole sweet 16. Again, only for a couple of years later, for a year or so later, for her to go to prom. And it was really nice. She had a wonderful time. She looked absolutely beautiful, but it didn't cost this money. And I do think we need to be smart. I'm dying to see what we do here in the North, because that was straight South, and they always do it a little differently. See, we here in the city, we ain't got no horse and carriage space. We now. Our luxury cars are going to cost luxury money here in New York City. I am dying to see what they come up with. But you know what? Again, let's be smart. You know, are we good stewards over the money that God has given us? And Pastor KL said, am I going to be able to buy food? Am I going to be able to pay rent? And I'm not going to put this money out only to be struggling later. That makes no sense. And if we don't teach our young people this now, they're not going to appreciate it later. I think it was Pastor Kale who asked a question that I always ask when I see these people buy, and I just said this the other day, when they're buying iPhones and tablets and iPads for 5-year-olds. I ask, oh, what are you going to get them later? These things here, it took me 2 years to pay off my iPhone. And I kept asking Shantice, this ain't finished yet. We ain't finished paying for this yet. I'm not finished paying for this thing yet. I'm surely not putting that into a 5-year-old. So what are we growing into if we've already outdone everything? So let's be smart. Let's be smart. And let's spend our money wisely. And more than anything, let's teach our young people something. It's a way to celebrate. It's a way to salute you without going overboard. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew who always come through big time. Thank you for hanging out with us and helping us do what we do. Thanks for keeping that chat room live. Please do not miss the opportunity to grab Jesus right now while all your faculties are here, while your heart is in the right place, and while you know what you're doing and you got time for this moment. Please do not miss the opportunity to strengthen the relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to anyone. Until tomorrow, God spares, where it's Freestyle Friday. Until then, go next. We gotta win this one. Go next. Until then, God spares. I love you.